Welcome to the Overactive Brain. I'm not doing any interviews or debates or discussions with anyone. This is essentially an introspective video that I'm uploading. I want to discuss free will. It's a conversation, a debate, a hot debate that I've been having with a friend of mine. We probably spent between 2 or 3 hours trying to convince the other that their particular position on the existence or non-existence of free will was true, and I want to throw the issue that we have out there to see if I can find an answer, a solution to bring an end this debate that we're having. I'm not necessarily here to teach you what free will is. I would like to think that either you already understand the premise behind free will. I really am interested in finding people who can help me overcome this particular objection that I feel my friend is so incontrovertibly incorrect about. So I just want to point out that I do not believe in the existence of free will. I believe that free will is an illusion, and I know this is quite a hard concept for many people to understand, which of course is demonstrable in the position my friend holds. But there is one particular point, and I think this is the only thing that I gained from this 2-hour WhatsApp back and forth that we had yesterday, and that certainly wasn't the first debate we had over the existence of free will. The only thing that I felt that I got out of it is I feel as though I've actually found the point with which we disagree. So it's not so much the fact that, yes, of course, he disagrees with with my notion that free will is an illusion, but I wanted to find the particular point that he disagreed on, because much of what I said he agreed with up until a certain point, and I don't feel that I had the necessary understanding or knowledge to be able to overcome that objection. So I'm throwing this out to anyone who feels that they can help me overcome that objection. But of course I have to remain impartial and think, well, what if I'm wrong? What if there is another explanation? What if my friend is correct or is right to a certain degree? So I'm open to any and all suggestions, but of course I do like to believe that I base my understandings, my knowledge, my beliefs on facts and evidence. So if you can, try and keep it to as scientific as you possibly can. Okay, so I'm just going to go through why I believe that free will is an illusion. So here's a chart that I created to help explain my understanding of the non-existence, if you like, of free will, and also to explain exactly where in that process me and my friend come to this disagreement. Now, this is an upstream downstream flow chart, something that I've used throughout my career in the financial services to help identify weaknesses and strengths within businesses' processes. But I'm using this type of chart now to explain free will. Everything works its way back through a timeline. So we start on the right with the behaviour, which is now, the present time, and then we work our way back upstream towards evolution, and we look at everything in between the two to try and work out what caused that behaviour. Now, I'm going to show you a very quick example of a different upstream and downstream chart that I use to help you understand how this chart works. So now we look at this upstream, downstream of a bacon sandwich being eaten. Hopefully, if you can understand this chart, then you will be able to go back to my first chart and understand what we're looking at. So we look at the present time. On the far right, we're looking at the eating of the bacon sandwich, which is happening now. 1 second before, the bacon sandwich has been created. 10 seconds before, the bacon goes in between two slices of bread. And as you work your way back from slicing the bread to frying the bacon, buying bacon, then we look at the slicing of the cured pork, then the curing of the pork, the killing of the pig, the raising of the pig, and the birth of the pig. So hopefully you can see what this upstream downstream flow chart is designed to help illustrate. Okay, so if we go back to the first chart, hopefully this now makes a little bit more sense, although I appreciate I'm not as gifted as some other people at talking and describing things on camera. So just as with the eating of the sandwich, we're looking at what is actually happening now, and then we have to work our way back upstream and look at all the individual influences that happen in order. So with behaviour, what happens 1 second before is neurotransmitters, specific neurotransmitters are fired, which cause muscles to contract. Therefore, that pulls the trigger on the gun that shoots the person. And then we have to look at, within the last few seconds or minutes, what hormones were at play to do that. Then we look at a more broader range. So we look at everything from the fetal environment, so time spent inside the mother's uterus, what environmental factors affected your behaviour, would have gone on to affect your childhood. What was your childhood like? What were your parents like? How did that affect everything going forward from there? And then we just take a general look at the environment that person went through during their life. Then we can go a little bit more upstream and look at our parents. What were our parents like? What were our parents' upbringing like? How were they treated? What was their socioeconomic status? What were their genes? What influences did they experience that would have affected fetal environment, our childhood, our environment, our hormones? You can see where we're going with this. Then we need to look at our parents' parents or our grandparents and look at exactly the same thing there. See what influences could have had an effect on our parents and therefore affected everything downstream from there. And then we go really far back and work our way through our ancestry, our own personal timeline, as far back as we possibly can. And we may be able to answer some of that by looking at evolution. So from when we were single-celled organisms and how that evolved over millions of years and went on to affect our ancestors, our grandparents, then our parents, and everything further downstream. And ultimately, all that collected together is responsible for the behaviour you exhibit. Okay, hopefully you have a little better understanding of my thought process behind all of this. Probably just come out like a load of word salad, as a lot of what I say on YouTube does at the moment, but practice makes perfect, right? The thing is, me and my friend, we agree on everything up until the microseconds before that behaviour. He understands that there is a multitude of influences and individual scenarios that affect everything that we do. So whether you have a faulty gene or you've had poor upbringing, a poor education, and that your grandparents were terrible as well, that can all lead to the situation where we find ourselves with that gun in our hand. But he still believes that the final thought, that conscious decision to pull the trigger, is open to free will, that we have control to not pull that trigger. He will typically say, well, other people are able to do it, why didn't they? And of course, me being someone who studies psychology and neuroscience understands that everybody is so complexly different to the next, and that there will be biological reasons to explain why one person did and one person didn't. I think one quote that I can use, or one saying that I can use to help explain his position on the existence of free will is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Essentially, I think you can lead the horse to water. So really, the horse being the individual with the gun, that you can lead him to a situation where there is a gun in his hand, but you can't make him pull the trigger. That is still down to him. That is still down to his free will to make that decision to pull the trigger. I need to find a way of answering that question scientifically, to handle that objection, if you like. It's my sales background coming out. So I'm throwing it out to you. Can you give me some help? I need to be able to overcome this and to be able to give a better answer than I think you're wrong, I'm right, because we don't seem to be making any ground on this. Is our final thought, is our final conscious decision to pull that trigger predetermined by everything that precedes it? That's my question. Leave your comments in the sections below, or you can contact me. You can go to my website, theoveractivebrain.com, for contact details. I'm on Twitter, IDW_disciple. But any help on this would be appreciated. Thank you, and hopefully I can produce some better videos for you next time. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye.